Her small voice said "Dad" to the wrong man. And in that instant, the most dangerous kingpin in Los Angeles decided I belonged to him. Before the story begins, hit subscribe so you never miss a new episode. Tap like to boost the series. Turn on the notification bell so every new chapter reaches you first. I didn't plan on humiliation before breakfast, but my daughter has a talent for rearranging my life without warning. One minute we were standing in the crowded hallway of the downtown Atlanta courthouse, waiting for her daycare paperwork to be stamped. The next, she was tugging her tiny backpack straps loose and sprinting toward the one man I should never have crossed paths with, Daddy. Her voice hit the marble walls. Heads turned. My stomach dropped so fast I forgot how to breathe. I froze as Emma flung herself into the legs of a stranger, a tall, broad-shouldered man in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than my annual rent. He looked down at her, shocked, eyebrows lifting beneath perfectly styled dark hair dot, and then he smirked. Not just any smirk. The kind that said he was used to the world bending around his whims. The kind that made me instantly defensive. "I'm not her dad," he said, voice deep and smooth. His hand hovered awkwardly above her back, unsure whether to return the hug. I rushed forward. "Emma, sweetheart, no. You don't hug strangers." She clung tighter to him as if I hadn't spoken. The man finally placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. "She's fine. Kids make mistakes." "Not this kind of mistake," I snapped, grabbing my daughter and pulling her gently to my side. My pulse wouldn't settle. His presence filled the entire hallway, and I hated the way my heart reacted, too aware, too alert, too drawn that Emma blinked up at me. "But he looks like Daddy." My chest tightened. She'd never had a father. Not one who stayed. The stranger's expression flickered surprise, something softer, then something unreadable. "Interesting," he murmured. I glared. "It's not interesting. It's inappropriate. And confusing for her." He gave a slow, amused nod. "Noted." I should have walked away, but the courthouse clerk called my name, and Emma tugged my hand again, eyes drifting back to the stranger like he'd cast a spell over her. I didn't like it. Not one bit. When we came back out of the office, he was still there, waiting, leaning against the far wall, hands in his pockets, watching us like he had every right. "You're blocking the hallway," I said, "and you're avoiding a conversation," he replied. "Don't owe you a conversation. Your daughter called me Dad. That earns at least 30 seconds. That earns nothing." I moved past him, but he pushed off the wall and followed too close, too confidently. Emma looked between us, completely unbothered. "Slow down," he said. "I'm not going to snatch you." "I'm not worried about that," I lied. He stepped in front of me, stopping my exit. "What's her name?" I hesitated. He waited. The hallway around us buzzed with people rushing by, but he was unnervingly still. "Emma, and you. You don't need my name." He grinned, bright and infuriating. "Then I'll guess. You won't. Challenge accepted." Before I could push past him, a man in a dark jacket approached, flashing a nervous smile at the stranger. "Mr. Moretti." "The car is ready." The man's posture changed, sharpened. Controlled. Dangerous. Moretti. My blood chilled. I knew that name. Atlanta knew that name. Even if you pretended you didn't, he brushed a hand down his sleeve. "I'm busy." His bodyguard backed away immediately. I swallowed. "Hard. You're with the Moretti family?" He tilted his head. "You say it like I'm holding a weapon. You're a crime family." He shrugged. "That's one interpretation." I grabbed Emma closer, instinct punching through me. "We're leaving. Relax." He lifted his hands as if calming a startled animal, which somehow irritated me more. "If I wanted trouble, you'd know." I didn't trust that for 1 second. We made it outside, stepping into the sunlight of downtown Atlanta. I moved quickly toward the bus stop, wanting distance, wanting air, but his footsteps followed. Why are you following us? I demanded, spinning around. He stopped, hands in his pockets again, like he owned the sidewalk. Because she called me dad. It was a mistake? Maybe, but she meant it. I stiffened. You don't know her. I know the look in her eyes, he said quietly. Kids don't fake that. My breath caught. His tone wasn't mocking anymore. It was something else. Something unexpectedly raw. Emma lifted her arms toward him again. Up? No, I said quickly. Absolutely not. He didn't reach for her, but he knelt, lowering himself until he was eye level with her expensive suit and all. You've got to listen to your mom, he told her, voice gentler than I believed he was capable of. Are you daddy? She whispered. The world stopped. He looked at her. Really looked. Every trace of arrogance slipped away. No, he said softly. Not yet. My brain short-circuited. That's enough, I snapped. Get away from us. He rose slowly, eyes locking onto mine with a heat that rattled every wall I'd spent years building. You don't want me near her, he said, but she wants me near her. And kids don't choose lightly. You're dangerous. I'm not dangerous to her or to me. A slow, deliberate smile. That depends. My breath hitched. I hated that he affected me. Hated that his presence sent my heart skipping. Hated that beneath the intimidation, there was a truth lurking in his eyes, something lonely, something longing. He stepped closer, close enough that the daylight reflected off his suit jacket and brushed warmth across my face. I don't believe in fate, he murmured. But he glanced at Emma. She might have changed my mind. You're insane, I whispered, maybe. He reached into his jacket and I jerked back. Protective instinct roaring, but he pulled out a sleek business card and placed it into my palm without touching my skin. If you ever need anything, he said quietly, call me. Even if it's just to tell me to stay away, I won't call. We'll see. He walked away then, bodyguard falling into step behind him. A black SUV pulled up to the curb, and even the car seemed intimidating. I held Emma tighter. Mommy, she whispered, I like him. I swallowed, the fear rising in my throat. You don't know him. She leaned her head on my shoulder, but he looked like he needed a hug. I stared at the business card, still warming my palm, my pulse loud in my ears. His name burned up at me. Leon Moretti. My world tilted. I should have thrown the card away. I should have walked home, locked the door, and never looked back. But the moment I shifted to toss it into my bag, a black SUV rolled up beside the bus stop. The tinted window lowered. Leon sat inside, watching me. Get in, he said. We need to talk. My heart slammed into my ribs. Act 1 ended with that single impossible moment, me frozen on the sidewalk, my daughter gripping my shirt, and the Mafia Kingpin who wouldn't walk away, trapped disguised as concern, a door I wasn't ready to open, but one he fully intended to pull me through. I didn't see Damien Valenti for 3 whole days after the incident in the cafe. 3 days in which I tried to convince myself that what happened wasn't unusual, that toddlers made mistakes, and that powerful men like him forgot ordinary women like me within minutes. Yet every time I tried to settle my thoughts, I remembered the way his eyes softened when Alina hugged him, the way he'd said my name, Lena, as if he wanted to taste it. I spent most of those days on autopilot. Work, grocery store, home, bedtime routine. I kept telling myself that the safest thing I could do was to pretend the world didn't shake every time I remembered his expression. But on the 4th morning, as I walked Alina to her preschool, a black SUV idled across the street. I felt the shift in the air before I even spotted the man leaning against it. Damien. A charcoal coat, dark slacks, no tie this time, hair loosened as if he'd just run his fingers through it. He looked like the storm that never announced itself, but always destroyed something in its path. Alina gasped the moment she saw him. "Daddy." She yanked her hand out of mine before I could stop her and sprinted across the sidewalk. Damien pushed off the car instantly, moving faster than I expected for someone who always seemed to move like the world would wait for him. He caught her in his arms, lifting her up effortlessly. She giggled and wrapped herself around him like she'd known him forever. I hated how natural it looked. I hated how right it looked. I hated how the sight made something tremble deep inside my chest. Damien looked up at me, holding her with one arm while the other slid casually into his coat pocket. "You disappeared." I stayed on my side of the street and didn't move. I wasn't going to make this easy for him. Not when he was already tightening the edges of my life without my permission. I didn't disappear. "I just don't have a reason to see you." His jaw twitched. Not anger, more like something he wasn't used to feeling. "Your daughter gave me a reason." I swallowed hard. "She's not your daughter, not yet." The simplicity of the words hit me like a sudden drop in temperature. He said them without a smirk, without the arrogance he usually carried like armor, as if he meant every syllable. Alina was too busy babbling to notice the way my knees wobbled. She played with the collar of his coat, pulling it upright and giggling. "Damien, you can't keep showing up like this." He finally set her down. Crouching in front of her, "Go inside for your class." Piccolo Fiore, She cupped his cheeks and kissed his nose before running through the school gate. I stood frozen until she disappeared inside when he straightened. We were suddenly too close. Close enough that I could feel the heat rising off him. Smell the faint cologne, something dark and steadying, like amber mixed with smoke. I stepped back. He stepped forward, matching the motion easily. "You should not be afraid of me, Lena." "I'm not afraid of you." "You are. But maybe not in the way you think." He reached out slowly, brushing a strand of hair behind my ear. The touch was gentle, achingly gentle, and it made my breath catch. "What do you want from me?" His eyes lowered to my mouth for half a second before lifting again. "Time, a chance." A door that isn't slammed the moment I knocked out. The more he spoke softly, the more dangerous he felt. "You don't even know me, not yet." His calm certainty unsettled me more than any threat ever could. "I have to go," I said, turning away before he could see the effect he was having on me. He didn't stop me, but his words followed like a hook catching on the back of my ribs. "I'm not letting this go, Lena." Days blurred. Damien didn't appear again, but somehow he was everywhere. A new security guard outside Alina's school gate. A fresh lock on my apartment door I knew I hadn't installed. A delivery of groceries left at my doorstep when I knew my pantry was empty. His influence was subtle, but pervasive, like a shadow that didn't need sunlight to exist. Every time I tried to get angry, I remembered how he carried Alina, how he'd looked at me like he saw more than I wanted him to. And then, on a Thursday night, there was a knock at my door. I opened it halfway, expecting a neighbor. Instead, Damien stood there, drenched from sudden rain, his hair wet and pushed back, his shirt sticking to his chest beneath a half-buttoned coat. He looked less like a kingpin and more like a man stripped raw. Wasn't sure whether it made him more dangerous or more human. Lena opened the door fully. I hesitated. Rain trickled down his jawline and dripped onto the floor. Between us, please. It was the first time I'd heard that word from him. Not a command, not arrogance, something closer to vulnerability. I stepped back. He entered, dripping water everywhere. He moved to the center of the small living room, hands clenched lightly at his sides, as if he wasn't sure what to do with them. "What happened?" I asked. He inhaled deeply. "My world cracked today. I needed to see you." The rawness in his tone reached places in me I didn't want touched. Damien. "Sit down." He didn't. He just stared at me like he was trying to ground himself with my presence. I don't bring chaos to people. I care about, you don't care about me, I do. More than makes sense. I pulled in a sharp breath. Being near him felt like standing too close to a fire you knew you'd burn, but some part of you leaned closer anyway. Damien moved with a slow deliberation I'd never seen from him before. He reached out, stopping inches from touching me. I never intended for your daughter to call me father. But she did. And something shifted inside me that I can't undo. I blinked too hard. The room felt smaller, narrower, as if his confession filled all the air. Why me? His voice dropped to a low murmur. Because you look at me like I'm a man, not a monster. Because you don't want anything I can buy. Because you protect your daughter like she's made of light. And I haven't seen light in years. He finally cupped my cheek with one wet, warm hand dot, and because when your daughter hugged me, it was the first time in my life someone held me without expecting fear or favors, and return dot my chest tightened painfully. I wanted to step away. I wanted to step closer. Every instinct in me clashed dot Damien leaned down slightly, breath ghosting my lips. If you ask me to leave, I will. The room stayed silent. My pulse thudded. His hand trembled against my skin. I didn't tell him to leave. His forehead touched mine. The contact so gentle it made my throat ache. Lena, I'm falling for you. I closed my eyes and I knew, with terrifying clarity, that he wasn't the only one falling. The morning after Damien showed up at my apartment felt strange in ways I couldn't untangle. I woke with the sensation of his forehead resting against mine, his breath warm against my skin, the quiet ache of a man who had never learned how to ask for anything gently. He had left before sunrise. No dramatic goodbye, no demand, just a quiet look, almost cautious, before slipping out into the fading night. I told myself I imagined the hesitation in his eyes. Told myself this was still a bad idea. I told myself a lot of things that morning, and every single one felt like a flimsy barricade trying to keep out a tide. 2 days passed. 2 long days without him hovering at the edges of my life. No guards near Lena's school. No UVs parked across the street. No groceries magically appearing at my door. The absence felt louder than his presence ever had. On the 3rd evening, as I was tucking Alina into bed, she asked the question I had been trying not to think about. Mommy, where's Daddy? Her voice was soft, small, tired. Alina, sweetheart, he isn't, she interrupted, shaking her head stubbornly. Not my real daddy. The other one. The one with the nice coat. I almost laughed. Almost cried. He's busy, I said gently. Busy being dangerous. Busy being a man I shouldn't want. Busy being someone who had begun to take up space inside my chest. She pouted, then yawned, curling up with her stuffed rabbit. Tell him I miss him. My throat tightened. She said it as if it were simple, as if the world folded itself neatly when she asked, I'll let him know. She fell asleep before I finished the sentence. I wasn't expecting the knock at my door. It came late, past midnight, sharp enough to jolt me from the couch where I'd been half-dashed dozing. My heart lurched. I already knew who it was. I opened the door. Damien stood there, his normally polished appearance fractured. No tailored coat. No perfect posture. Just a gray sweater, dark jeans, and a look in his eyes that made something inside me lock up. His breath fogged in the cold hallway air. His hands were in his pockets as if he didn't trust them not to reach for me. I shouldn't have come, Lena. Then why are you here? Because staying away feels worse than any danger. I could put you in. The blunt honesty stole the air from my lungs. He stepped inside without waiting for permission, then stopped, as if realizing he had no right here. He hovered, uncertain. I motioned toward the sofa. Sit. He sat, elbows on his knees, staring at the floor. His voice dropped to a low rasp. There's a threat. Someone who wants leverage over me. You and Alina, you could be that leverage. A chill ran down my spine. Are we in danger? Not if I handle it. Not if I stay one step ahead. But distance protects you. Then why are you here, Damien? His jaw hardened, but the fight in his expression wasn't anger. It was longing twisted with fear. Because distance is becoming impossible, I sat beside him. The silence stretched until it felt like another presence in the room. He finally looked up. I know what I feel for you. I know it's real. He lifted a hand toward me, then paused an inch from my cheek, waiting. When I didn't pull away, he brushed his fingers lightly against my skin. The contact made my breath tremble. But I won't let you be collateral damage in my world, he said. I swallowed. Damien, you're talking like this is over. If I stay, I pull you into a war. If I leave, he shook his head. I don't want to leave, then don't. The words slipped out before fear could choke them. His eyes flickered with something fierce, almost grateful. Lena. He leaned forward, resting his forehead against mine once more, just like that night. Only this time, the moment felt heavier, like a choice forming between us. I don't know how to be gentle with the things I want, he murmured. Then learn. A soft sound left him, half laugh, half exhale. His thumb traced my lower lip with a reverence that stole my composure. Teach me, he whispered. My pulse thudded. My breath hitched. But before I could speak, the sharp crack of gunfire echoed from outside. One shot, then another. Damien reacted instantly. He pulled me down behind the sofa, shielding me with his body. His hand curled around the back of my head. Stay down, Damien. Alina, he was on his feet before I could finish, checking the hallway, then the window, then the corners of my living room with the precision of a man who had lived his entire life expecting violence. His face hardened. They found us. Fear burned through me. Who? He didn't answer. Not because he didn't want to. Because he couldn't without making it real. We have to move now. He grabbed my coat, threw me my shoes, and lifted Alina from her bed without waking her. She stirred only slightly before settling against his chest like she belonged there. We slipped down the back stairwell, Damien moving with lethal silence. Outside, a second SUV rolled onto the street. Not his, he cursed under his breath. Get in the car. Lena, don't look back. For the first time, I heard panic in his voice. We climbed into his SUV. Tires screeched. The city blurred past us in streaks of neon and shadow. Alina slept through it all. Damien's hand never left my thigh, gripping it tightly, not possessive, but grounding. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I led them to you. You protected us. He kept his eyes on the road, jaw tight. His voice cracked. I should have stayed away. I reached for his hand, prying it gently from the steering wheel. He looked at me, raw and conflicted. Damien. You came back. His breath hitched. Not relief. Not pride. Something closer to surrender. He drove us to a private safe house at the edge of the city, secured behind steel gates and high walls. When he stepped inside, he looked at the space as if it had been built for loneliness. Once Alina was settled in a spare bedroom, he returned to me. The storm outside rattled the windows, but inside the air was still. You're safe here. Both of you. What about you? He didn't answer, not immediately. He stepped closer, tracing a hand down my arm with a gentleness so careful it felt like breaking glass. I'm going to end this. Permanently. And then what? Then I come back. If you'll have me. His voice wasn't the voice of a kingpin. It was the voice of a man who had discovered something he didn't know how to live without. He pulled me into his arms slowly, as if memorizing the shape of me. His heartbeat thudded hard against my cheek. When I returned, he whispered, there will be no threats. No war. No shadows. Just us. Damien. He tilted my chin up, eyes burning with a promise and a plea. Let me give you the life you deserve. Let me give her the father she chose. The words were a confession and a vow. He kissed me. Not rushed, not forceful. A kiss carved from longing and fear, and everything he had never allowed himself to feel. When he pulled away, he rested his forehead on mine again. If I don't come back, don't say that. If I don't, you'll know I tried to build something good before the world took me. I gripped his shirt, refusing to let go. Come back to me. Damien. He pressed one last kiss to my temple. Well, he turned and walked toward the door. The storm swallowed him whole. I stood in the quiet safe house hallway, my heart twisting with terror and hope tangled together. Somewhere out there, a man who had never been anyone's was risking everything to come back to us. And for the first time, I wanted him to succeed. Subscribe for the next episode. Share the story to keep the series alive. Comment to signal you're ready for the next arc.